Welcome back to another video here on the channel, Chad Morris. And the conversation is, in this video, what would happen if China were to actually what would they do if they were to ban the TikTok platform, which the Chinese-owned company is Dance Bite. And the question is, what would they have to do if they were making the choice to actually ban TikTok here in the United States? But they already had the bill already passed through the House of Representatives. Now the Senate is the one that has to decide whether they should go through to the President of the United States. And then once the President, if his or her decision is to have that same bill that was passed by the House of Representatives to actually go through, then I believe that China would have to make a decision where either to sell the TikTok app or ban it in the United States. And according to News Nation, I heard this takes about 6 months to actually for Dance Bite to actually make that decision. Excuse me. And then from there, if I could actually just take a guess on how long it would take for China to actually come up with a decision on whether to sell TikTok or ban TikTok, and that would be that would probably be for, it would probably take them all the way to September to actually reach an agreement or a decision. And I know September may look like, well, this is just 6 months away. Yeah, I find it very crazy, though, that they'd have to reach a decision by this September. I mean, that's just, to me, that is honestly crazy. I mean, really crazy. But, why would we wait 6 months just to actually have a bill that passed that would actually have Dance Bite in China ban TikTok here in the U.S. when you have 6 months of waiting and you literally don't want to have any kind of constant national security threats coming from China. That is well, people are not even going to like this at all. And I just don't see how long people could actually wait for something to actually happen here. But yeah, the bill's already gone through the House of Representatives. The Senate is the one that has to make the decision whether to pass it to the President of the United States. And then the President of the United States is the one that has to make a decision to veto the bill or pass the bill. And then, again, I believe China is the one that has to make the decision to ban it in the U.S. And I don't know how China would make a decision on whether to actually sell TikTok or actually ban it in the U.S. I don't know. It's kind of like how the U.S. has to, tell China, hey, we're not going to, tolerate your app any longer and that stuff because this is a national security threat. And the Chinese are actually using the TikTok app to actually spy on U.S. citizens. So, the U.S. be like to China, you either sell your app or you get rid of it here in the United States. And then, it's like how China, sometimes the U.S. has to play tough guy with China. And, China also doesn't really care about U.S. security and that stuff. Remember how when Nancy Pelosi was flying to Taiwan, China was like, shoot Nancy Pelosi's plane down, that stuff. Well, why? Well, because I think China obviously hated the U.S. So, it's not very, it's not common that the Chinese just absolutely just hate the American people. I think China is the one that is just being an absolute, I think China is just being absolutely, a big threat for the United States security. I think that's what I believe, that China would do whatever they want to continue to threaten Americans, threaten American security. I believe they would continue to do that, and then, that, what happens, it does not stop there. Once TikTok is banned, China would hatch another app in the Google Play Store and Apple App Store, and then convince Americans and other people to download that app and that stuff. And then China would, after every person here in the United States was giving their data to China for this new app, then that same cycle would actually repeat itself, where China would continue to be a national security threat with these new apps. And it's all starting with TikTok. These new apps would be a national security threat to the United States, and then the U.S. would actually have to keep on doing what they could to actually pass bills to ban these new apps in the United States, and then, that same thing would actually repeat itself, where the bill would have to go to the House of Representatives, then the Senate, and then the President of the United States, and then that company would be responsible or would have to make a decision on whether to sell the app or ban it in the U.S. and that stuff. And then that cycle would probably be ongoing on and on and on. And I get the feeling that China would continue to be a national security threat in some very many ways. And I don't know when China's gonna really knock it off with, like, meddling with the U.S. in this way, but, you know, it is what it is. And I don't think the U.S. will be able to stop this completely, but at least the U.S. is going to put up, like, one top of a fight with China. And the U.S. is pretty much letting China know that, hey, the more you want to continue to be a national security threat to us, well, we're not going to tolerate you. You want to play tough guy with us and that stuff, well, we're not going to take this. So that's how that would be. The Chinese are using TikTok to actually spy on the U.S. people by collecting users' data here in the U.S., and then that data gets sent over to the Chinese government. Then the Chinese government is the one that actually find out about how we live in the United States, what we do based on the data they collect, and then when they become a national security threat, that's a problem for the whole entire United States. And it's where China is starting to become like a cyber security threat. I mean, they can't continue to produce apps that would actually violate and make Americans feel unsafe just because all that data and the new Chinese apps are being used to collect U.S. American data's phone, and then the Chinese they just get to sit back and they say, hey, look at all the data we collect on this person who lives in Florida, and Oregon, and that's dumb. Oh, these are bad people. These are bad people indeed. I mean, that they'd be looking at here like, oh, yeah, these guys are they're just totally, I'd say, totally bad people. That's what China would be saying, and then trying to be like, if they were under the Chinese social credit system, they would definitely get a low credit score. Whether score would definitely go down and that stuff. And you know, yeah, they see every bit of it. They see people giving a bunch of U.S. propaganda and just selling you a bunch of misinformation and disinformation about what's going on here in the U.S. And China doesn't really sell that kind of stuff, but the U.S. people do that. And what also is very disturbing is that there are TikTokers out there that use TikTok for very inappropriate reasons, which I'm not going to get into. But I can tell you it's very, very bad. And the ban of TikTok, well, I'm not going to make a big deal out of this. If the app gets shut down here in the U.S., I'm going to be okay either way because I want that extra storage for my phone. And then everything is just going to be fine with me. And if China is going to make more apps that are going to be used to spy on U.S. citizens and that stuff, then I'm probably going to think twice before I download that stuff, because then I don't want my information going directly to the Chinese government when a Chinese-based company has actually made an app that would actually, whoever downloads it, is basically agreeing that, hey, I guess trying to get my info is just, or they would think that giving their info to China is just not a big deal. I mean, that they may not know that they're sending their information to China. But, you know, anybody can probably start figuring out that the Chinese are the ones that are behind creating some of these apps. That TikTok is the start of it. There could be more apps that China creates here, where if you want to use that app, you have to agree to give all your data to the Chinese government, and you know, it would be a long time until you probably start figuring out that, oh, this isn't good. And you know, eventually, the same thing that's going on with the TikTok ban bill that's being passed, it's probably going to happen to these other apps that come from China. Because, like I said, this is a national security threat, and China is being a security risk, and they don't care about Americans' safety. They don't care about people here in the USA when it comes to safety. And that's how that is. And once TikTok, if it gets banned here in the United States, China will be creating another app, probably, that would take TikTok's place, and then that app will be used to allow the Chinese to continue to spy on what the American people here in the United States actually use those Chinese apps for. And I can tell you, whatever next app comes from China, once Americans start allowing that Chinese app on their phone, it basically, when they sign up to actually use that Chinese app, they're basically going to agree that their data can be shared with the Chinese government, and that is a national security threat. By the way, anybody will probably start figuring out that it's China who is behind the ones that are creating all these apps and being a big national security threat. And China, being a communist party that they are, I'm sure that this is what they will continue to do in the future. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe to the channel for more. Please remember to keep the comments decent and non-offensive. And, China is, I would pretty much just guess that they're going to continue to try to be the biggest national security threat here in the United States. And it doesn't stop with the ban of TikTok. Have a good day. I will see you on my next video.